The eyes and ears of the world have been on the Middle East for quite some time now, focused on crises, missile launches, or scenarios of regional war. However, behind the scenes, a development has taken place that could fundamentally alter all these balances, with effects lasting for decades. According to recent documents leaked to CNN and the American press, the United States and Saudi Arabia have signed a historic civilian nuclear cooperation agreement. When you first hear this, you might say, so what, it's just an energy deal. But the truth is far from that. This agreement contains highly critical and flexible clauses that could open the door for the Saudi kingdom to enrich uranium on its own soil. So, why did the Washington administration set aside nuclear principles it has adhered to for decades? What is Saudi Arabia aiming for with this move? Most importantly, is this step pushing the Middle East into a new nuclear arms race? Let's analyze the backstory of this issue step by step using concrete data and geopolitical realities. To understand the core of the story, we need to go back a bit. The United States signs agreements with countries receiving nuclear technology transfers under Section 123 of the Atomic Energy Act. Indeed, in past agreements signed with U.S. allies, such as the 2009 agreement with the United Arab Emirates, there was a very clear rule, the gold standard. Under this rule, the recipient country agreed never to enrich uranium or reprocess plutonium on its own territory. It had to import any required nuclear fuel ready-made from abroad. The goal was simple: to prevent civilian nuclear programs from turning into covert nuclear weapons programs down the line. However, in this new draft reached with Saudi Arabia, things have changed. Washington did not completely shut the door on uranium enrichment for Riyadh. Instead, it offered a flexible and open-ended formula. Granting these concessions to a kingdom that holds vast oil reserves and whose nuclear transparency has been heavily debated in the past has created a virtual earthquake in international diplomacy. The second major detail that makes the agreement alarming to experts is the inspection mechanisms. The International Atomic Energy Agency has a very strict inspection framework called the Additional Protocol. In countries that sign this protocol, inspectors can conduct unannounced visits or perform snap inspections on suspected facilities. According to CNN's report, compliance with the Additional Protocol was not required in this agreement with Saudi Arabia. In other words, inspections will largely be conducted through bilateral mechanisms between the US and Saudi Arabia rather than through independent international bodies. Now let's ask from a neutral perspective. In an environment without the Additional Protocol, where independent inspectors cannot enter freely, who can guarantee that uranium enriched for civilian purposes at 3 to 5% won't be pushed up to the 90% level used for weapons? That is the core question keeping Western analysts and military experts up at night. This is no longer just a technical energy project. It touches directly on regional fault lines. Two main actors stand out here. What did Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman explicitly state in past interviews with American television networks? If Iran develops a nuclear bomb, we will follow suit as soon as possible. We know that despite years of sanctions and attacks on its facilities, Iran has maintained its uranium enrichment capacity. Riyadh sees itself in a quest for nuclear parity against the Iranian threat. This permission granted by the US serves as a massive geopolitical shield for the kingdom. On the other hand, there is a full-blown panic on the Israeli front. Israel wants to maintain its monopoly as the undeclared sole nuclear power in the Middle East and safeguard its qualitative military edge. A local enrichment capability in a regional Arab state is an unacceptable scenario for Tel Aviv. The heated debates that broke out in Israeli media and politics right after this news leaked stem from this exact concern. When evaluating this development, looking at it from only one side will lead us to the wrong conclusions. We have to weigh two different perspectives. One side argues, the United States is ignoring the risk of nuclear proliferation just to satisfy commercial ambitions and secure billions of dollars in contracts for its nuclear giants like Westinghouse. This is sheer irresponsibility. They aren't wrong to criticize. The risk of nuclear weapons proliferation is indeed a global threat. However, there is another side to the coin. US strategists and government officials look at it this way. If we don't make this deal, Saudi Arabia will turn around tomorrow and get the same technology from China or Russia. At least with US technology and bilateral inspections on the ground, we retain a chance to keep Riyadh in check. From the standpoint of geopolitical reality, this approach also holds its own logic. As we always say, in international relations, there are no angels or demons, only interests and power balances. Blindly criticizing one side or applauding every move of the other won't get you to the truth. What matters is being able to read the full picture. To sum up, while this agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia looks like a civilian energy partnership on paper, it is a massive move that could shape the nuclear future of the Middle East. Of course, the process is far from over. For the agreement text to take effect, it will have to go through the approval process in the US Congress. Many senators from both the Democratic and Republican sides are expected to fiercely object to this text on the grounds that it undermines the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Since the 1950s, the world has learned firsthand that nuclear power is both a massive deterrent and a potentially catastrophic disaster. In a region like the Middle East, already surrounded by crises and proxy wars, redistributing the cards on a nuclear scale promises far bigger developments in the coming years. We will continue to closely follow these developments and bring them to you in the most straightforward, neutral way possible. Thanks for watching, friends. See you in the next analysis. Take care.